Hi everyone, welcome to the latest edition of Pro Wrestling Defined. I'm Jonathan O'Dwyer, and I want to thank everybody for all the support so far. I want to give a special shout out to my friends Monty and the Pharaoh at the Monty and the Pharaoh show. Check them out on YouTube. And a special shout out to my friend Phil Connolly for all the help with the editing on the Bam Bam Bigelow tribute show that we just did. And another awesome show today with another absolute legend of the wrestling business between NWA, WWF, Mid-South, world class. He's done it all in the business, had a legendary run with Black Bart, competed in the very first Royal Rumble, was Central States champion, Mid-Atlantic heavyweight champion, and it's an absolute honor to have him on the show, and singer of the song Salvation as well, which you can check out on YouTube. Sam Houston, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing great. Wow, what an introduction, man. That was great. I was thinking about something the other day. One of the things I used to tell people is, they say, wow, you've done a whole lot of stuff. I opened up for The Who twice at the musical group, The Who.
Yeah.
I worked at the world's biggest party in the state of Texas at the Houston Astrodome and Reunion Arena for their show at Texas Stadium. I opened up for The Who twice. I got to wrestle right before their concert. It's me and a few other wrestlers. Randy Savage, Jim Duggan was there. But I was almost eaten by cannibals twice. So, the introduction was great. I love it. But I used to tell people, you've got a long way to go just to get to the places I've already been. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, the Almighty has put me on a path where expect anything. I've been in situations. Just last November, I was driving down the highway at 3:00 in the morning in a truck. A guy fell asleep behind the wheel. He flipped his truck twice, landed in the median between us. I pulled off the side of the road, went and kicked his window out and dragged him out. He was perfectly sober. Everything was fine. He had just fallen asleep behind the wheel. He was tired, But
Wow.
the Almighty puts me in places and stuff where I just seem to kind of be able to help out and be a part of things.
He knows he has a good servant to rely on. I think that's it. You've certainly been on an amazing path, and your story of redemption is amazing, and we'll get into that later on. But
Sure.
Where I wanted to start off, actually, because it's really sentimental for me. We're jumping way ahead, but I had to start here. Is Great American Bash 1985, one of my favorite memories from my wrestling fandom as a child. I had the VHS when I was like 4 or 5. I was riddled with chicken pox, and my mother brought me back the VHS, and I would just watch that thing over and over for years. It was the only NWA I had. It would have been like 93 or 94 here, so it's way after the fact. But what a moment in that 6-man tag when you pinned Billy Graham. I mean, you were getting roughed up by Abdullah the Butcher and the Barbarian throughout that match.
He was like a big bowling ball, man. A 580 bowling ball. I took a butt whipping like you would not believe. And then after I pinned Billy Graham, wow, what an honor. But when I pinned him, 30,000 people are screaming your name all at one time, and it's just, it's surreal, it's just like, wow. They carried me out on their shoulders. It was awesome. But yeah, I took quite an ass whooping.
Yeah, the pop at the end of that match is just crazy. It was really cool as a child, because I remember when I was watching, I was like, oh God, will they let up on him a little bit? And then when you pinned him, I was just like, wow, that's amazing. So it was an amazing moment. And how important was that for launching your career going forward as well?
Well, I always, God, the world champion, the 2-time WWF champion, what other, I pinned him, and oh gosh, what a guy he is. I've got nothing but respect for him. Now, he made a couple of comments as a commentator, at WWF, that he called me frail one time on TV, and because I didn't have the physique that whoever I was in there with had,
Mm-hmm.
And him and Lord Alfred Hayes sort of chuckled about that for a little bit. It was okay. I remember, I think it was Mike Sharp ran my head into the ring table, where they had the bell and everything, and the commentators were sitting at. And I remember looking up at Billy, and my eyes were crossed. But Billy was what a guy, and what a businessman. To recognize something and be able to want to be part of it and watch that.
Yeah, definitely.
It was an incredible experience for me. Um, yeah, I was. Uh, it it sent me on my way. I was getting, gosh, in the Carolinas before Dusty came in. I started wrestling in Florida in '83. And man, first of all, I got to say, I was so blessed. I left home. Dusty changed my name because I came from a wrestling family,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to rely on my dad's, backing or my brothers or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
Dusty changed my name to Sam Houston. It was never publicized. Jake and I were brothers or, anything like that. I wanted to do everything on my own. Well, I got down to Florida, and what a blessing. Now, let me explain a little bit of history with this. Okay. In 1969, a young man was coming back to going to Austin, Texas, getting ready to quit the wrestling business entirely. He was giving it up. And he was coming through to the Dallas Sportatorium on his last shot through, going home to be a plumber with his dad. And he was wrestling that night, a fellow by the name of Grizzly Smith.
Yeah.
And Grizzly Smith felt something in the ring with this guy and changed everything and put him over right in the middle of the ring. When Grizzly walked back in the dressing room, Fritz was standing at the dressing room door. And my dad thought that Fritz was going to go nuts, but Fritz felt it too. And that was the night Dusty Rhodes changed his mind and stayed in the business and became
Oh.
my dad felt it in the ring with him and changed everything up and gave him his big break. So in 1983, when I was ready to break in, I'd had my tonsils taken out when I was 17, and I've got scars on my neck here and here. Um, they messed up during the tonsillectomy, and I flatlined for 2 minutes on the table.
Wow.
Eat food that year. When they resuscitated me, brought me back, I was in a coma for 2 weeks. Out of body experiences, the whole 9 yards. But I went in 2 minutes. I went to another place. So I know there's an Almighty, and I know there's a Creator, and I know where I'm going when it's all said and done. So what I'm doing earth is trying to get that message out and help as many of my brothers and sisters as I can, and whatever I can do to help. Every day is a blessing. We're not promised tomorrow, but I was given today, so let me make the most of it I can for somebody. Um, anyway, I was in a coma. I didn't eat food that year from April the 2nd until August the 13th. I dropped from 230 pounds to 128 pounds. It took me almost a year to get my weight back up. I got my weight back up to 230 pounds. I approached my father, told him I wanted to wrestle. It's something I've been training for ever since I was in the second grade, and then I got the best hands-on experience by the guys in the dressing room every night growing up. Hey, kid, come here. Let me show you this. They're twisting your head all kind of. So Danny Hodge was awesome. But I had these amateurs that were great. So when I went to my dad and I said I'm ready to break in, I'd already got in the ring and shot with George Weingroff, and he stretched me, but I came back. And George told my dad I was ready to break in, and my dad told me, he said, this business is already, no, he said, this business is not for you. I've already lost you once.
Wow.
Now, I talked to Dusty, and Dusty said, well, come on down to Florida in September, and we'll get you started. So I showed up in Florida, and then Dusty gave me the net. I explained to him I didn't want to use my family name. And he come up with him, we're going to call you baby Michael Samuel Houston. So that's Sam Houston was born in, it's funny because I was born October the 11th in 1963 in Tampa. Sam Houston was born September the 13th of 1983 in Tampa, Florida. So it's kind of neat. I was born twice in the same town.
That's really cool.
But then when I went down there, I was blessed, and how I was blessed is Dusty kept me on the road working every night of the week. I was wrestling anywhere from 6 to 10 times a week. A lot of times there'd be no shows, and I worked, double duty or what have you. But being able to work in the ring every night and is being able to better yourself at your craft.
Yeah.
And with the talent that I was in there with, I mean, I was working with Florida's best at that time. Well, but I was being able to get constructive criticism every night from the other guys and stuff like that, and be able to apply that in the ring the next night. My style was quite a bit different from everybody else's and stuff like that. Well, then I worked in Florida for 3 months for Dusty, and then he sent me to the Carolinas. I worked here in the Carolinas for Crockett for quite a while, and then finally Dusty was coming up. I knew there was a contract thing going on, and Dusty knew that I knew the business from the office. So I learned the office like when I was a teenager, that kind of stuff. So he knew I knew. So I would pick him up when he would fly in, and I'd take him around the territory, shots and stuff, and explain what was going on, because you had like 5-6 bookers at the time, and all the underneath guys were starving to death because you're only working 1 or 2 nights a week, and they're not allowed. I got fired for. I went to all the Wahoo, everybody that sold 8x10 pictures. I went to all of them. I said, "Is it okay if I sell pictures?" And they all told me sure. So I used to say it wasn't much. I'd make an extra 10 or 12 bucks a night, but that's half a tank of gas or a meal.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not making much money over there, And anyway, Crockett fired me for selling pictures, and Wahoo and Tully went to him and got my job back. Anyway, Dusty came in. When Dusty came in, and once he took over. My bookings got a little bit better, but then the night in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where Tully Blanchard was wrestling Dusty in a barbed wire match, and Baby Doll had just come on the scene, and she'd taken her dog collar, spiked dog collar bracelet. Tully. Well, I'm watching upstairs, and Tully opens Dusty up with the dog collar thing, so I hit the ring. When I hit the ring, Tully nailed me with it, put 27 stitches over my eye. The next night in Spartanburg, well, Dusty made an interview, and everything went nuts. The next week in Fayetteville, that night in Fayetteville, the house was $6,000. The next week they put me in on top with Dusty and Magnum and stuff, and the house went from $6,000 to $18,000. So the Fayetteville popped, and then the rest of the stuff started popping. And that's when I think Dusty and Magnum, because they were the hosses here,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what was cool was they had this little dude here, and all these other guys beat the snot out of me and get them ready for Dusty and Magnum. Yeah. Oh, I got beat up in parking lots, got my arm broke. I half my face was scraped off. They took my face and raked it on the asphalt. All this skin was gone. I mean, stuff's happened to me.
You've come through it
The
all.
greatest song, man. Yeah, it's the greatest show on earth.
Definitely.
You know.
One of your most legendary runs is with Black Bart, Rick Harris.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that. I understand you had some trouble with the commissions because of the brutality of it as well. Talk about the run with him and how good was he? He was an amazing worker.
Okay, well, I first met Bart. Oh gosh, I was a kid. I was, working in the gas stations and stuff. My dad, in the Louisiana territory, guys were breaking down all the time. I was keeping everybody maintenance on everybody's cars and stuff like that. DiBiase and this one and that Bundy, everybody's cars I was taking care of. And then a lot of times, if somebody broke down on the side of the road and we'd be coming up, shoot, Dad dropped me off. He picked them up, dropped me off, and I'd have to nurse the car in, fix the car, and nurse it in for him. So I met Bart when he first left Leroy McGurk and came down and worked for Bill Watts. And, it was like, whoa, boy, this is a rugged son of a gun, the whole 9 yards. And I don't know, we kind of a little bit in Florida, but in the Carolinas, I mean, just everything came together. And, I mean, those matches were incredibly brutal. And like I said, we're not allowed to wrestle each other in Maryland or Pennsylvania because of a match we had in Baltimore and one we had in Philadelphia, where the state athletic commissions actually tried to physically stop us.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. Physically stop me and Black Bart. I mean, I love the guy to death now, but every chance I get, I'm going to give him knuckle bumps on his head. Yeah. I love him, but I'm going to get it.
He's a really interesting character.
But we wrestled one time in Baltimore, and we were in a Texas death match, and it was a brutal bloody match. So the next month we're back in Baltimore, return, but we're in a preliminary match. We're in the second match on the card, because all the big guns were there, just everybody. Well, me and Bart went out there and we left everything out there for the people. We left it out. We beat up the commission. The commission come back and tried to stop the show. Dusty told the commissioner for him to go make the announcement. But the people were so spent after our match, nobody got a reaction when they came out. Flair got a small that was about it. The road
Wow.
It was silence, the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express going to the ring. The only thing playing is their entrance music. The people they're spent. They were worn out. People talk about that to me today. I was in Baltimore that night. Wow. That was one of those nights in your career that you just, that's one of those feather in your hat nights,
Yeah. That's awesome.
But those nights, I'm going to say that was an incredible and an awesome match, and the brutality and everything else. I mean, just everything came together. The planets were in line and the stars were, But that was one of those matches. But see, I've been blessed with. I can't say that was the best match in my career because I've been blessed with the opportunity to be working with guys like Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Eddie Gilbert, Sting. I wrestled Flair. I wrestled Barry Darsow, Crusher Khrushchev, Mr. Perfect. I've wrestled so many guys. I worked with Bret Hart one night. We had a good solid match, but we both felt, we talked about it a couple of years ago. We both felt we could have done if we'd just been given a chance to do so much more.
Yeah.
We were in a couple matches, and I think a cage match one time, a 4-man on each team cage match, and I won I jumped over the top of the cage to get out of there. But yeah, with me, Savage, all out of the cage first, so I won the match. Yeah,
For sure. One guy actually I was watching you work against there the other night was I think he goes under the radar a bit now for how good he was. Is Nature Boy Buddy Landell? Talk a bit about working with him through the years.
well, buddy and I have been friends, like I said, since I was about 15 or 16. I used to work on their cars. He lived in the apartment complex across the road from the gas station I worked at. So every night, whenever he'd be coming home, he'd stop and he'd talk to me and this, that, you know. Me and Buddy have been friends for quite a while, and I was there, you know, at his memorial services and stuff like that. Our matches were good, you know, uh, and you know, a lot of people have different opinions of Buddy. Buddy's been was never anything but great with me. You know, I've seen things with other people and stuff like that, but that didn't affect my relationship with him. So, you know, I hold Buddy. I held Buddy as a friend. You know, and we had some really good matches together.
Yeah, he was really good. I think he's underrated by fans nowadays. Yeah, no, I thought he was interesting. And when you moved on to WWF, actually,
best drop kicks. He threw one of the best drop kicks. He'd get both feet right here, right in the side of your head. Looked like it'd take your head off. Well, let's take your head
off. Yeah, everything he did looked really solid. And that's another thing. Actually, I was going to bring up about what I like about your work as well. When I look back on it, is even simple things like you threw a really good, solid right hand, and that's something that's just so missing from wrestling today that I miss. You know, just the guys really making the effort.
Throwing that right hand. One of my favorite things to do is hit a guy right there because I love to watch their eyes cross. I'm not a boxer, an MMA guy, or anything like that. But you know, if I have to, I can throw hands a little bit. You know, I got 3 shots. My left jab is pretty swift. You know, I could just pop that out there, and I got long arms, so but that overhand, right, my uppercut, I've got an uppercut that I throw and bring it in right here underneath the jawline. That'll just, that sends them airborne. And that one right here, and it's an overhand right. And Dave Peterson used to call it my bow and arrow punch. That's that bow and arrow punch. And because I line up, but all the power, and people don't understand. And I want to get into this a little bit too about technique. All the power is in my shoulder, but the momentum comes from the stepping in. You step into the shot, and you drive with your shoulder. You aim all your power. Whoops! I'm trying to get this with these 2 knuckles. If you hit with these 2 knuckles, you break them. So all your power you want right here. And it's a straight shot. And I love crossing somebody's eyes. I've crossed Mike Davis's eyes every time we get in the ring. I cross Black Bart's eyes every time we get in the ring. I crossed Jim Neidhart's eyes one night in Lake Placid. But he spun me around when I was throwing the shot, and when the shot landed, he hit him right there, and he sat on the bottom turnbuckle. And when he opened his eyes were crossed. He stood up, walked right over to me in the battle royal, and said, we were real good friends. And he said, "Sam, don't you ever hit me again." He said that was the hardest anybody had ever hit. Like, wow, I was, pretty good. But anyway, yeah. It's all in technique. And this is what I wanted to get into. A lot of people see a guy that knows how to throw a punch, see the step in, you know, but they don't really see it as a step in. What they're seeing is a guy stomping his foot. They're not seeing like a
Yeah.
baseball player wind up, step in. All right, so somebody that knows how to throw a punch can step in, and then but somebody that doesn't really get intricate with their observation doesn't see. All they see is a guy stomping on the ground to make a noise. They're not
Yeah.
seeing the full maker. They've never been taught that way. So those are the guys that can't break an egg with a shot. Now I can work or I can shoot either way,
Yeah.
and it's all this. It's the displacement, and it's being able to know where you're at. Like always in the ring. Nelson Royal taught me when I was a young kid. Always know where you're at in the ring. I would go around the ring. Jonathan, have you ever heard of a fellow by the name of Moose Cholock?
No, no, that name doesn't ring a bell.
All right, he was a guy he was up north from Canada or Newfoundland or somewhere up in yonder. All right, this guy wore like this 120-pound moose head on his head, like a Vader thing.
Yeah.
But this was back in the 60s. But in this thing weighed like 120, but the big horns and everything. I had just started working for Vince. And they would bring, an older guy, one of the old timers back, and give him a shot, and he'd work on the card. Well, they were like kind of, I guess, doing him a favor. So they booked me against Moose Cholock in St. John's, Newfoundland, or somewhere up there. So I'm sitting there, I'm standing in the ring, and here I look out and I see Bullwinkle Moose walking to the ring, the big antlers and everything. And I tell the referee, I said, "Oh God, everybody in here is gonna hate me." He said, "Why are you saying that?" I said, I gotta wrestle Bullwinkle. Well, Nelson Royal had told me always check your equipment. But make sure you hit the top ropes and the turnbuckles and stuff. Make sure there aren't any steel cables that might poke an eye out or something like that. See if there's any breaks in the ropes, anything happening. Make sure the ropes are tight if you're going to hit them and stuff. So anyway, Moose Cholock, because of this, the antlers on this moose head couldn't climb through the ropes. He had to climb up to the top rope. Well, when he climbed up to the top rope, I'm checking the ring out and I hit the ropes. Well, I didn't take into consideration this thing weighs 120 pounds, and when I hit the ropes really hard, it wobbled, and he's trying to climb the ropes, and all of a sudden he's up on the top rope and backwards. It was probably 10 or 12 feet to the concrete, and he laid there, and I walked over there, and the referee don't know what to do. You got to count him out. And I said, everybody's going to hate me. Everybody's sure going to hate me. Now I just killed Bullwinkle. So anyway, that's just a funny little story. I'm sorry, I got off track here. What's going on now?
No, you're good. It's good. It's all real, man. So you move on to WWF later on, and just talk about your dealings with Vince. How was your relationship with him while you were there?
Well, first of all, I mean, he's a businessman too. I'm not trying I'm not, I don't hate the guy, but or anything like that. I don't have any bad blood. I guess it's mutual respect given there both ways. Vince did something. Vince did something with the wrestling business that he had a dream. And you can't hold what he's done. I mean, he's drawn major box office. He's made major stars. He's an icon of the business. So, I mean, how I was treated, looking back because of my addiction and everything, now that I can factor that in with a sober mind. Matter of fact, I've been sober for over 11 years. but looking back, I can, I wouldn't have invested as, into somebody that I couldn't trust, So I got to
Yeah.
kind of take that and look at it and say, I'm not going to say, oh, they messed me over and I should have been this or I should have been that. If I'd have been more business instead of partying all the time, maybe somebody would have invested more into me or behind me or what have you. But I've accomplished a lot of wonderful things. I mean, I've been around the country so many, like 8 times I was counting. I'm not around the country, around the world. 8 times. I mean, like I said, I was almost eaten by cannibals twice in Port Moresby or New Guinea, Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
I walked outside to smoke a cigarette. Check this out. I go outside to smoke a cigarette. You couldn't smoke. Beautiful Australian government owned the hotel. The Australian government wanted to take over New Guinea, is what it was, and they were trying to kill them off with spear cigarettes that are rolled in the Australian daily newspaper, right? And they're giving them away,
Oh,
to
wow.
all. Yeah, you can read. You can sit there and read the print, see the print, and they're people hooked on it.
Wow.
I didn't know at that time. So I'm out there one day smoking a zoo, and he's walking up to me. His face is painted red and yellow. He had red and yellow face paint on. Gosh, he was his complexion was like charcoal. He had a great big bone in his nose, like this, shooting through his nose. He had bones in his nipples. He had backbones, vertebrae in his earlobes. He's carrying a spear, probably about a 6 foot tall, long spear in his right hand. He's got this long machete on his hip. He's got a bow and arrow over his shoulders, and he's walking straight up to me. And I'm looking around. I was like, I'm really looking at this guy. I'm about a foot taller, but still, I'm still checking. He's got a spear and all this stuff. And when he's walking up to me, I'm expecting him to go, something like that, But then he walks up to me and goes, pardon me, mate, could I have a smoke from you? And I said, you talk better English than I do. And I gave him a cigarette and I lit him and he walked off. And I turned back around and here comes a woman walking down the street and she's wearing like a piece of material wrapped around her waist like a skirt. She's walking down the street and she's nursing a baby on one breast and a pig on the other.
Wow.
She was nursing a baby and I was sitting there. Then we found out that, okay, if I'm driving down the road and I hit your pig and run your pig over, and you can come back and kill me for killing your pig, or I can give you $20 and be done with it. Yeah, there's like
That's
we used to
crazy.
sit there. One night I'm in the ring. I think I got either a Killer Brooks in a headlock, and this was in Port Moresby, and we're in a soccer arena. The tribes people, I thought I was in a Tarzan movie. The tribes people busted down 100 yards of wrought iron fencing, iron bar fencing, busted that down, stormed the arena. I got Killer Brooks in a headlock. There's all these thousands of tribes people, knives, spears, the whole 9 yards. I got Killer Brooks in a headlock. I go to tag. Action Jackson says, no, stay in there. I said, let me catch my stay in there. I turn around. He's hiding behind the ring post. He says, stay in there. You're a smaller target. They're shooting bullets. I went, what? And then I heard,
Wow.
so I let the headlock go and I jumped up and crawled up underneath the ring. I sat there for a couple minutes. A couple minutes went by and then finally AJ lifts up the apron. He said, what are you doing? I said, it's a lot safer under here. And so everybody kind of got under the ring and we waited it out. Yeah, when thousands of people are running into the arena, and gosh, at autograph signing, I went to use the restroom. I was coming back from the signing. They picked me up. The Australian Army had to come and rescue me in transports. They were carrying me off to eat me. The major says, he goes, you ever watch Bugs Bunny? I said, Bugs Bunny? I said, yeah. You know the one with the Ethiopian? I said, yeah. He said, there was a big black pot in your future, mate. They believe that if they consume me, that my spirit and the spirit of a warrior will live through them. Wow. It's a spiritual thing. Cannibalism is. Yeah, there's like lots of tribes. So then, like, okay, that happened. Then 4 days later, now Charlie Norris, my old tag team partner, is 6'6" and 305 pounds. He's 3 inches taller than me and 60 pounds heavier. I mean, what a backup to have. You know, yeah. I always took care of them, but, you know, if I needed backup, this is what I'm calling, who I'm calling. So anyway, you couldn't drink the water over there. They had to fly the water in from Japan. So we leave the hotel and we go right next door to the little convenience store. And they had 1.5 gallon bottle of water. So, hey, we're tag team partners and we will split the water. We got to the counter. We had not been in the store 3 minutes. Over 5,000 people gathered right outside the store and were trying to get us to eat us. Then they had to call the army out on that one too. Oh, it was rough over there. We had to drink beer, start drinking beer every morning, and drink beer all day long because they didn't tell us about the mosquitoes carrying malaria. So the best way for a mosquito repellent is drink beer, the South Pacific beer. So we were going through a couple of cases of beer a day. And then after the matches, we'd get back, go to the hotel after the matches, and the people over there live in grass huts. Well, I don't know. Do y'all get the show Gilligan's Island over there?
I know the show, but I haven't seen much of it myself. But yeah, it's showing
up. You know how they live in grass huts? How they live in the grass huts?
No.
Well, they live in grass huts on that's what these people lived in. It'd be like 15 or 18 grass huts over here, about 25 over here. And these are little different villages and stuff. Yeah. And they've got a nut that grows on a tree. It's called beetle nut. And what they do is they put that on a mustard plant, put the beetle nut on it, the nut, and put a spoonful of lime that you kill snails in your garden. They put that in their mouth and they chew on it. When they spit, it's like a red fluorescent, but it gives them a cocaine high. Wow. So they're eating this beetle nut all day long, and then at night they start drinking or whatever, and then somebody will come out from this village or this little thing of 15, 18 huts, and somebody will come out of this one. 2 guys will come out, they'll pull out those great big long grass knives and go to hacking each other to death. They're killing each other. I mean, when we watched it, we said, grabbed our, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know?
Crazy times.
Yeah. But I ain't never been to Ireland yet, so I want to maybe see about coming over there.
Yeah, you should. Well, I don't know what way the travel will be now with everything going on for a while. But you should definitely come over here at some point for sure. The scenery over here is amazing. That seems to be the biggest attraction. Like so, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard.
But one of your big moments in WWF was competing at WrestleMania 4 in Trump Plaza. What are your memories?
4 and 5.
Yeah. Did you actually get to meet Trump? Actually, because they were at Trump Plaza. Cool.
Yeah, just that walk through shaking hands. I mean, but yeah, I can tell people, I worked for the president twice. I did a lot of things twice. Cannibals twice, opened up for the Who. I sunk the 8 ball on a break twice in one night. I've done a lot of cool things twice. I didn't like being in the 5K fun run thing. I don't know who but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a memorable night. I saw a clip. I forgot. I think Ron Bass eliminated me or something, backdropped me over the top rope for WrestleMania 4. Then I wrestled Honky Tonk Man at WrestleMania 5. But I stand firmly behind the president. I believe he's getting really messed over big time right now. I think
Yeah.
people need to get out of the dirt and stand up, and it's time to fight. It's time to cut this foolishness out. We all know it's a bunch of malarkey going on. And we need to put our foot down and this ain't gonna fly no more. But the powers that be won't. They're ignoring the truth. They're only going to be able to ignore it for so long until a lot of more people start standing up and going, "Hey, this ain't right. We're not going to take it no more." Look, I've got this on my neck because I go into places and they require sometimes you got to have a mask on, this, that, and the other. So if they do, to be in compliance, I can go in, boom, get my shot, leave with ease. As soon as I leave, I don't believe the virus is that deadly or anything like that. Yeah, it has taken lives, but there is a whole lot more taking more.
Oh, for sure.
This is minuscule on the larger scale, larger things in life. And as far as all these other conspiracies and everything will get aired out eventually, and things will be brought into the light. You got to trust the Almighty in that. He ain't going to let this go. Now, if you read the book, you'll know in the end we win.
Yes.
Okay, we're given a shot at everlasting life, and one of the most important things. Okay, I've been through a lot. I've survived car crashes I shouldn't have. I've survived a whole lot of things I shouldn't have. And it makes for an interesting story. Boy, you ought to hear me in the morning around the coffee maker, But the most important thing in life is that we're saved.
Yeah.
Because even though our bodies die, our spirits last forever. We're energy. We're an energy, and we're going to find out when it's all said and done and it's all over with. We're one. We're going to be one with Him. And it's going to be that opportunity. The only way to reach that or to get that is to be saved by the blood of the Lamb. And if anybody has any desires, any wishes, I'll be more than happy to help people out. You can reach me on any of the social media stuff. I think I'm on the Facebook, the Sam Houston Fan Nation. I don't know how to Twitter yet, but I'm around and I show up in any of the places. But yeah, ask me, man, because I know He's worked in my life. I've experienced healings. I was resuscitated from being dead a couple of times. So all glory goes. Every day's a blessing.
Absolutely. One last question on the wrestling front before we get into your faith journey. Another big moment you had in WWF was Survivor Series 1988, a part of the Ultimate Warriors team. I understand you were good friends as well. You and Warrior talk about your friendship with him. He's a really interesting character.
Yeah, when he first came up, he was the Dingo Warrior, but Vince didn't like Dingo, so they just called him the Warrior. But they wouldn't let him on TV because his style was So for about 2 years, we traveled together all the time, and he was helping me in the gym some, and I was helping him with his ring skills. And we had a friendship and stuff like that. I got some really good stories on him. But yeah, at the Survivor Series and everything, Vince came when I walked back to the dressing room. Vince grabbed my hand. He started shaking it. He said, Sam, he said, you're the only thing that saved that match. He said, nobody did anything. He said, you were the one that got that match over.
Wow.
And then, what a compliment that was for me to get. Now, a Jim Hellwood Ultimate Warrior story. You got a minute? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Jim was like, all health and this, that, and the other. Well, I kind of partied some and this, that, and the other. Well, anyway, we were going to El Paso, Texas. I was going to take him to the bootmaker, the Austin Hall Boot Company, because he wanted to get some boots like mine made. Savage ended up getting, Austin Halls. A bunch of guys wanted to get Austin Hall boots. I always wear cool boots.
Yeah.
So I was going to take him to meet my bootmaker and let them measure his foot, and, draw it out, and make the last and everything. So Jim, he didn't partake, smoking and stuff like that. I did. So, but hey, I respected his, and he was cool with me. I just opened the window,
Yeah.
So, now, Jim was really funny about anybody taking pictures of him or videoing him if he didn't have his makeup on. So we land at the airport in El Paso. There's a fellow with a VHS camera, and he's filming he's Savage, and he's filming Jim. So Jim goes over and tells him, look, he said, I just don't want to be filmed where I don't have any makeup. Please don't film me. So the guy says, okay, and he puts the camera down. I go rent the car. So I go rent the car, take the bus out, go pick the car up, and bring it back to the baggage claim. When I'll come out and pull up the baggage claim, here comes Jim walking out, and he's got these two huge duffel bags. And as he walks out the exit, two policemen, two little El Paso policemen follow him out. And they're standing on either side of the door. I'm like, what's going on here? So I hit the trunk button. Well, Jim takes the first bag and tosses it in there. They're both huge duffel bags. Tosses it in the trunk. And then he goes to throw the one on the left side in the trunk. Well, it hit the lip of the trunk. We were in I think it was a T-Bird, either a T-Bird or a Cougar. It hit the lip of the trunk, and it fell on the ground. And he reached down, and he started dropping a whole lot of F-bombs. He grabbed the back of the car, and he was bouncing the tires probably that far, maybe 8-10 inches off the ground. He's wow. And I looked at the cops, and they said, buddy, looks like you got it from here. And they both turned around and walked in. I was like, yeah. So he got in the car. As we're driving out of the airport, I asked him what happened. He said that guy started filming again. And I said, yeah, what happened? He said, I wadded his camera up and left it on the luggage carousel. So evidently Jim had destroyed this guy's camera. And it was so hearing that, so we're leaving the airport. I was like, oh, okay, well, before I take you to my bootmaker, you're smoking this with me. And I made big fat ones with me. And then I took him to my bootmaker. He was all happy Vince. He was a cool awesome guy. And then later on, things got to him. He was getting the big push and things like that. And, your friends change and, business associates change, everything else. I don't have to, I miss my friend, we had a lot of good times on the road together.
Yeah, he was really cool. I have a picture of myself and him back here. No, he was one that I really liked. Switching gears onto your life after wrestling or on your faith journey. I understand like that you got to a dark place with alcoholism. Talk about how God led you through that and the journey he's had you on in your life since then.
Well, all right. Oh gosh. Well, I quit. I gotten out of the wrestling business, and in 2002 started doing some outlaw events, small events and stuff like that. But I wasn't serious about it, and I was drinking, and I struggled with alcohol for 19 years through my wrestling career and after, But I still kind of dabbled grappled with wrestling. I mean, I haven't retired yet. I'm going to be wrestling in April in Vegas at the CACs. Yeah, I can't wait.
That's awesome.
So, but everything. I was paralyzed. I was paralyzed twice. Funny thing. I was paralyzed. Partial paralyzation. I was wrestling one man gang in Roanoke, Virginia. And I don't know if it was this club in forearms or Kevin Sullivan in the back of the head with a tire iron, but one of them blew out some disc in my neck. I woke up the next morning. I couldn't move. I suffered partial paralyzation for months. This doctor out in California worked on me. Then I was in the Northridge earthquake in the early 90s at LA. I was out there and I was rehabbing, and then I re-injured myself because I was knocking the doors down to get people out of their homes, and I re-injured myself. Well, anyway, gosh, I came back from that. I started working out with Charlie Norris at the training center. My career was over. He got me back in the ring, but all that time from then till 2009, till I went to prison, I felt like I robbed the people because I was an alcoholic, and you never knew how I was going to show up. I was drinking anywhere from 1 to 3 fifths a day every day for like 19 years.
Wow.
3 times in my life, I had a year sober, and I thought, oh, wow, I got it beat. And, you don't beat it like that. I don't have a problem with it because I finally made the decision. I went through and I made a decision. But in 2009, I was driving on my way to a halfway house. My girlfriend and I had a falling out. I was on my way to a halfway house, and I'd had one drink. And I got pulled over for an improper lane change. And that's what I got charged with. And they arrested me and took me to jail. Well, when I bonded out, I checked into Centacor. I was there 3 months to the day, a 2-year-long rehab. There 3 months today, and I went to pay a ticket for the improper lane change. They threw that out and hit me with the DWI 4th offense. I told him, yeah, I've never had a 3rd offense. You got to charge me with a 3rd offense. And he said, if I redo the paperwork, he goes, I'm going to hit you with the Habitual Offender Act. He goes, and put you in prison for the rest of your life. You sign off on this. He goes, I'll give you 10 years. You'll serve half of it. If not, I'll give you 30 years flat. So they took me because I'm a wrestler, and they locked me up on Murderer's Row. It was like the worst of the worst of the worst individuals you could be around. I went through it. I listened to it all. It was driving me nuts for 2 days. I took my my bed sheet, and you can get anything. People got razor blades, and harm gets done. So I took a razor blade and was able to slip my sheet. I braided it together. I couldn't live like this. They're talking 30 years or they're talking whatever. I could not do this maximum security, but I'm not, because they viewed me as a security threat. So I braided the sheets together, and I made 2 nooses. And I got up on the top rack, and I ran the sheet, ran the rope around the bars enough times, put both nooses around my neck, and was perched up on the top of top rack. And I said, God, only you can stop this now. And I jumped. And I got to tell you, Jonathan, I'm a guy that jumps from inside the ring over the top rope and lands on the floor on the outside. I'm that guy. I jumped from 5 feet high. I landed with such force, the soles of my feet were bruised for weeks. Both nooses broke. They didn't rip. They didn't tear. First of all, I tie knots. So I'm a certified rigger. I tie knots offshore. I'm a scaffold supervisor. I know how to tie should not have failed.
Yeah.
I dropped to my knees. I promised God I'd never try to hurt myself again. 5 days later, they came and they chained me up and they took me to the chaplain's office. They put me inside the chaplain's office. He looked up from his desk and he says, "Your mom's dead. You can make a phone call." Oh, I talked to my sister who was rocking Robin. She told me what happened. They were going to try to get me to the funeral. And I hung up the phone and they took me back to my cell. They unchained me and I dropped to my knees that night. And I promised God, I promised my daughters, and I promised my wife's spirit that I wouldn't drink again. And that's been over 11 years ago. You know, and I used my journey in prison to do everything I could to better myself. You know, I didn't graduate high school, with my graduating class because I had my surgery and they were going to hold me back a year. So I took my GED. But while I was in prison, I did earn college credits through the American Bible Academy. I spent my time in prison trying to work on myself. I mean, they put me in the worst of the worst of the worst to begin with. Whenever they shipped me from Baton Rouge after court and everything to the prison, they shipped me to a maximum security disciplinary camp. I have never had a write up, never done anything, but because I was a wrestler and a security threat, they put me. I mean, these people are. We were having
Yeah.
stabbings once a week. Probably every other month, somebody was getting killed in a dorm with 93 guys in it. We're having, anywhere from 2 to 5 fights a night. We're dealing with pepper spray every night. It was a bad deal. And I went through that. And I had the one big fight against some guys. They ripped me off. And I came out on top. The warden, come to find out, was a wrestling fan, and he was watching me whoop 3 guys on his. Well, actually, it was 2 guys. I didn't get my hands on the other one. He kept running. They stole my commissary. Nobody knew who I was. I asked my Bible study guys, my friends. I had 3 of them. I asked them to stand around and make sure nobody stabbed me, or not to get involved, but just make sure nobody stabbed me. Or what they like to do is take a shoestring and put a master lock on a shoestring, and then whip around and hit you in the back of the head. I asked them not to let anybody stab me or hit me in the back of the head with a lock.
Yeah.
And I went in. A few minutes later, after I opened the can of whoop ass. All the guards come walking in. I went over back to my rack. Those guys brought me all my things back. And the warden found out who I was, and he sent me. He did the biggest favor anybody could ever do for somebody. He sent me to a Class A trustee camp to where I was able to go outside the prison gates and work on the road crew or work out in the open. And I did that for 11 months there. And then I went to another camp where I got a job running the compound fuel station. And then I went from there to work release where I got to work. But all these things I've got to do, I wouldn't be able to be doing them if it hadn't been for the Almighty intervening in January. So every day that I'm on this earth, my job is to make life better or whatever I can do to help my brothers and sisters. And if the greatest thing I can ever do is lead somebody to the Master so you can be saved, I mean, that's something that's going to last all eternity.
Yeah.
And that's something I want. I want that out there. I know he's been a factor in my life over and over and over again, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've gone through so many things that I've gone through, is because people like to. I like talking to people. People like talking to me, but I can help them because I can look at everything because a lot of stuff has happened to me before. I mean, shoot, how many times have I gotten flooded out now? I've been in the floods in 2016 and Katrina, I landed in Las Vegas a storm hit the desert and flooded out closed the airport down for 2.5 hours. You know, I thought that was pretty cool, you know. But I've been through a lot, and I think he takes me on that journey so I can help other people. I mean, that's what I'm here for. On the reservation, on the my tag team partner's reservation, he's Native American, Chippewa. They call me a life traveler. I show up in people's lives in times of need, you know, and help them through difficult times. So, you know, I just want to be only, you know, and then all through my journey, I guess, after prison, after I lost everything in the floods in 2016, this one promoter down in Florida, boy, he hooked me. I mean, he lied about a lot of stuff. His name is Dave Nelson. So if anybody messes with that guy, don't mess with him. If he approaches you, go the other way. Just full of lies and everything else. Anyway, but while I was down in Florida, while I was attempting to try to work for him, I met a girl. Her name is Cherie Perez. And Cherie had been in a snowboarding accident 8 years earlier. She tried rehab for 6 years and found no benefit. And then she sat in her chair. Well, she didn't really sit dormant in her chair, but she didn't get out much. And then after I moved in with her, I rented a room from her. And boy, within 3 months, she would put her leg braces on and walk 2 hours a day. This is someone with a severed spinal column. Could get out there and walk 2 hours a day. Well, while I was living there, and Cherie was doing all the work. I was there for the encouragement, but I was going to assemblies of church there, and I was in ministry class, and I was approved for a ministry there because of my knowledge and my heart and where I'm at. You know, I'm going to talk about the Almighty anyway. So if you don't like it, walk away. You know, but I'm not going to hammer anybody with it or anything like that. But, you know, I'm very grateful for everything that he's given and done for me. You know, I've got 2 beautiful daughters. You think I'm deserving of something like that? No. You know, but he feels I was. So, you know, how else can you say it? You know, you got to give thanks for everything. And I give thanks for the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Thanks for the bad. Because the bad is actually an opportunity to overcome and to shine. That's all, you know. That's what I like to try to do, Jonathan.
Exactly. And like, I mean, he achieved the salvation of the world through the death and resurrection of Jesus. It seems to be through pain and suffering that people, that we grow, you know, and get stronger and mature. So yeah, you're definitely right on that. Talk specifically to like I first came to Christianity specifically through wrestlers' Christian testimonies. That's why I like to cover this in the podcast, as you know, as well as the wrestling side of things. But I used to be an unbeliever. But before that, and it was through the testimonies that I first started kind of considering Christianity. So speak to somebody like that, somebody that's an unbeliever, of why they should give Christianity a fair shake, and why they should accept Jesus as Lord and Savior.
Well, first of all, if I was going to talk to somebody about it, I'd say, how much do you know? You know, because what you first got to understand is we didn't create ourselves. So there's this book over there, it's called the Bible, and it has all the answers in it. You know, we have a creator. This has everything to do with our creator. This tells us how to live and everything else. Now, our creator is offering us something. You know, why not get in? You know, why not get in on it? I want to learn everything. I want to know everything I can about something or my God. I want to please my God. You know, so study first. I would tell make up your own mind. Study first, and then go to him in prayer. If you don't want to, you don't have to ask him in right away. Go to him in prayer. Ask him to reveal things to you. And then as you get, gain your understanding more and more, it's really easy. All you got to do is confess your sins, ask him in. Once he comes in, he's there for for eternity. Because anybody that truly wants him, I mean, when I was 12 years old, first time I accepted Christ. But I did that for the donuts because at the church, if you went down the aisle and everything else like that, they prayed with you. You got donuts, so that was
Yeah.
at 12. But later on in life, yeah, the night I wrote my song, I mean, that's when I really got real with it. You know, and people don't understand. They think, oh, well, it's just an unconscious decision, like, oh, yeah, we're going to do that today. No, you really need to get down into your soul, and talk to yourself, and let him talk to, ask him to talk to you. He wants to, and you'll know right and wrong. We all do,
Yeah.
we all do. And I want to help people as much as I can. As many times I should be dead and I'm not. Rod Price's ex-wife, when I got out of prison, when she saw the complete turnaround that I'd done, she walked right up to me and she said, Sam, she said, I know there is a God because no one could have changed you.
Wow.
I think I took that as a positive note because I kind of like the guy I am now too.
Yeah, he's definitely done miracles in your life, and you've had an absolutely amazing journey. One last question I wanted to ask you on the wrestling front was, what would be the biggest things you think this generation could learn from guys like you and your generation, from the, say, 70s, 80s, 90s?
First, okay, get properly trained. That's first. Second, is weed out the BS. You've got to re-educate, the wrestling fans. They've got to see competition. It's not a flip flop and fly game.
Yes. Yeah.
You can't be too fast to follow. You're as a performer, you're leading and the audience is following you. If you're performing too fast and they can't follow, then you're lost. Do you understand that? What I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, 100%.
Slow, yeah. Less is more. Um, Thirdly, if somebody's really serious, this is your dream. This is the shot at the brass ring in their lifetime. This is just one thing, but if this is their passion, then they need to be on their A game. They need to give it all they've got 100% of the time. Don't ever be second best. Hector Guerrero gave me the best advice ever. He said, Sam, don't ever be second best. He didn't mean don't ever come in second in a foot race. He said, whatever you go out there to do, give it your dead level best. Don't be second best. Don't go, oh, that's enough to get by. Go that one step further. Somebody that goes that one step, it's like if you hire somebody to do your yard. All right. And this guy charges, so much money, and he comes around and he just mows the yard. And then this other guy comes around the same amount of money, but he mows the yard, he blows the grass off the sidewalks, he runs the edger down. Well, who are you going to use? I'm going to go with the guy that goes one step further.
Yeah.
Because that guy's telling you that he doesn't mind working and he wants your business. He appreciates you. The more I do for people, I get appreciated. I like being appreciated, but I appreciate them too. I appreciate every blessing. I give thanks for every blessing, and that's how I can, I just want y'all all out there, keep me in your heart and mind and prayers. Follow me on Sam Houston Fan Nation, Facebook. Check out my song Salvation on YouTube. If you want to go and well, you can interact with me on through Sam Houston Fan Nation. Really would like to see a whole lot of folks from Ireland joining up to it today. You know, or but my personal page is under Michael Sam Houston. And although I've got almost 5,000 friends or right at the limit and stuff like that, I have a public page so people can come on and view and stuff like that. You don't have to be friends to view that. And we just started Patreon. It's under Michael Sam Houston on Patreon as well. So we're getting ready to do a lot of big things. I've got some wonderful people that are working with me on things. My manager, his name is Will Knight. He's a if you want to hook people up with his information, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We've
And
been together.
you do a lot of
year.
charity work as well, don't you? You have a nonprofit doing a lot of charity work. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, what we're trying to do now is like merchandise. Like I'll do pictures and things like that, and then we use that to do the charity work and stuff. I built a ramp for about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, for a 75-year-old son and his 95-year-old mom. Their house is 3 feet up. So the ramp had to be almost 30 feet to build it up to code. So, but we went in and me and a couple other people, one of their neighbors bought the materials and they brought me in and I helped, I built 3 ramps for them. So, and then there's a couple of ladies here down south of where I'm at right now, disabled. And that's how I started getting by first. I was up here in the Carolinas. I was working in Texas, but I was up here in the Carolinas to go out and do some events, and COVID shut everything down, and I was kind of like a fish without water, but started working, doing some things through a couple of churches and for some disabled ladies that I knew, and then things started blossoming from there, and opportunities. I keep my mind busy, keep him first, and opportunities arise, and I can't say, how glad I am to be here with y'all. I can't say, I mean, I'm not, I mean, shoot, I'm happy. This is great.
That's awesome, Sam. That's a perfect note to end things on, I think. And thanks so much for doing this today. Your story is incredible. Your journey in the wrestling business has been amazing, and you're doing great things nowadays. And it's just been an honor to talk to you today, Sam. So thanks so much for coming on.
I want to come back and do some more things. And I mean, we're working on my book. And that's what got the TV series and the life story thing and documentaries. People, they found out, they read part of the book, and they're like really wanting more. So I'm working on the book, and we're working on a few other things, and I just want to get it out there. And Dusty Rhodes told me a long time ago, you can't rock the world sitting on your front porch. Makes a lot of sense. All right, guys. Hey, man, thank you so much, and please stay in touch with me. Okay.
Oh, definitely, I will do. And then we'll talk on this again. You've had an incredible journey, so there's loads to get through. So we'll talk again someday. Anyway, thanks so much, Sam. It's been great.
Bye.
Take care, bro.
Bye.